great news. Last year was a terrible, terrible year in the markets. Now, you're probably thinking I lost my marbles. Who the heck's this dude telling me anything positive about last year? And I get it. First of all, I lost my marbles a while ago, so that we all know. Second of all, let me explain why I think it was great news. And trust me, I take no pleasure, and it personally affects me more than most people, because this is my livelihood and my world, when markets are down. In many, many, many ways. Very stressful year. But it's great news. And why do I say that? So let's look at perspective. I think that can teach us a lot when it comes to looking at and analyzing a situation. First, let's lay the groundwork. Last year, S&P 500 down almost 20%, I think 18 and change. Barclays Ag down double digits, the worst year since its arrival in 1976. Bonds were down double digits. It's almost unheard of. And it is unheard of. My lifetime, most of you watching this, you've never experienced that in the bond market, and a negative year in both is virtually unheard of. So, that sounds like terrible news to me. Why do I say great year and great news? Well, first of all, let's look at this through four perspectives. One, your plan still works. So we all knew something like this would eventually happen, and the question is, and this was worse than we expected because there was no reprieve virtually anywhere, stocks nor bonds. And what happened? I work with clients every day. Lots and lots and lots of them. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of clients, as do my colleagues. And I can tell you not one financial plan, when I reran their plan last year, was broken and unrecoverable because of a bad year in the markets. We knew it would come, and here it is. And financially, almost everyone I ran into was still financially fine. Okay, next. You've been perspective two. You've been waiting for this, and don't tell me you haven't. I've been doing this for 20 plus years. And every year, especially since 2008, this is the big one. This is the big one. Things, wars, governments, this president, that president, you name it. Everyone has been waiting for last year. Well, good news. You got it. You're still standing. Your plan still works. You're still in a decent financial position. That's it. Great news. It's here. It's no longer this big scary thing that you can't fathom. It's here and it happened. Perspective three, which is my favorite one. Investing is a long game. And this is what markets do. So first of all, we know markets go up and down, right? Everyone here knows they go up and down. If not the right game for you. Next, investing is a long game. Plain and simple. And finally, we know clear skies ahead. We know that this is a blip on the radar. So it perpetually goes up, and you have these retractive environments, and that's what happens. It's the long game. If you're investing for 1 year and last year was it, that stinks. You also shouldn't be investing for 1 year. Ever, 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 ever. And anyone tells you otherwise, you should take a hard look. Now let's look at some information. Let's give you some stats. So, 2008. This is the worst market since 2008. So that's 15 years since the market's been this bad. Kind of great news. That means you had 14 other years that weren't this bad, and this is the 15th where it is. I'll take those odds every and any which way. How about if I told you that in 2008, the S&P 500 at its low was 735 points. Today, as I'm recording this, it's almost 3,900, 3,892 points before market opens the day I am recording this. That is over 3,000 points higher after the sell-off. Heck, during COVID, the S&P 500 hit a low of 2,900. You are still better off than the COVID sell-off if you stayed investing, even after 18% sell-off. And bonds having the worst year in their history. That's great news. Imagine what happens when you take a step back, look at the long game, and say, where are we going to be in 15 years from now? You follow that logic, and markets are substantially higher and thousands and thousands of percents higher. Show me where to invest. All day, every day. That's great news. Finally, things aren't that bad. Seriously. Now, I sympathize if tragedy struck your life last year. Most likely it wasn't due to the stock market. I know the worst year of my life was 2016 because I lost my father. Nothing to do with the stock market. Candidly, where are we at now? As we're recording this, the S&P 500 is still doing fine historically. We know unemployment is at 3.5% and inflation's on its way down. And even with interest rates where they are, historically they're kind of on par with where interest rates are, maybe slightly higher than the Fed wants it. This isn't a mortgage of 18% like it was when I was born. Great news. So there's 4 things to give you real perspective on great news about last year and where we are today. I always said there should be I stopped watching the nightly news ages ago because it's full of terrible news and it just put me in a bad mood, and I chose not to see the world through that light. Otherwise, I'd be convinced that it was nothing but murderers and criminals and arson attacks, and that's all I would think the world is. I always said there should be a news station called Great News that gives you a different perspective and lets you see all the wonders and beauty in the world. And I'm sticking with that. So, copyright pending if any news anchors are watching this. But anyways, do the same thing with your life and give it the perspective it deserves. And you'll see that things are still pretty great. As always, I'm Andrew Rose, President Diversified. Stay wealthy, stay healthy, and stay happy.